Hi, welcome back to my channel on foods of animal origin or food processing. After a gap of 1 month, I am back here with a new topic. The today's topic is retort pouch processing of meat and meat products. This is one of the advanced area for all kind of food processing. It's a modified modern canning process. Earlier I have a lecture on canning in details, so that must be understood, and at the end of that lecture briefly I have discussed about this retort pouch processing, and I mentioned there that I will have separate lecture on this. So this topic I am going to cover in two parts. In the first part today I will talk mainly on the technology of retort processing, and then more details about the retort pouch itself. Retort pouch is a special discovery which is used as a container for processing of food at high temperature by sterilization. To introduce about the topic, as we all know, the food industry is looking for new ways to extend the shelf life of any food and to preserve the food in a novel way, and also find the diversified food products. Consumers always like to see new products, and they will buy things that are more convenient and easy to use. As we know, there are new kind of series of food products. Sometimes we call hit and eat or hit and serve. So here the food is packed in a container and cooked and ready to eat, or sometimes we just need to heat and serve or heat and eat. So this kind of process is done by a container flexible pouch that is called retort pouch, and that's the new development for different food products already available, and it is also suitable for processing of meat and meat products or fish and fish products. So this technology of retort pouch processing can be under a development of food packaging also. And as we know, the food packaging has revolutionized in today's world, and it is one of the heart of modern food industry which helps to store food in a hygienic manner. And packaging industry is very big in the world today with a very fast growth, and ready to eat food has dominated the packaged food industry, which we call RTE foods. So they are the foods which are enclosed in flexible pouches, just we need to heat and eat or heat and serve. In modern days, the lifestyle has changed. All are busy working, so hardly there is any time for preparing or cooking food in the home. So we are developing the habit of buying ready to eat food or just bring heat and eat. So with this, the retort pouch is becoming a very important sector for food. As I told, the retort pouch has become quite popular for other food sector, so it is equally becoming important for meat industry. Due to lack of proper cold storage facilities or cold chain, the marketing and consumption of meat and meat products is always difficult. In Indian situation, though there is demand for meat and meat products, it is not always easily available because meat is highly perishable. So in such case, if we can develop shelf-stable meat products, then it becomes easy to store in room temperature and distribution becomes easy. That does not need any refrigeration, and this can be done by high temperature processing, and it's a kind of sterilization, and then the product becomes shelf-stable. So this is done by thermal stabilization. That is the process called retort processing, which sometime we have covered in a lecture, that is canning. Canning is also called as retort processing. Now the actual retort processing is about putting the food in a container and seal it and then heat it sufficiently to sterilize everything inside by killing all the microorganisms, pathogenic, non-pathogenic or spoilage organisms. So first the food is sealed, then processed, sterilized, and then it becomes shelf-stable. That's the philosophy of retort processing. Now briefly let us understand what is retort pouch. Retort pouch is a type of food packaging made from a laminate of flexible plastic and metal foils which can withstand high temperature as an alternative to traditional industrial canning method. So this is an alternative to metal cans made up of flexible plastic and aluminum foil which can tolerate high temperature and can be used for sterilization of the food at high temperature. So the Retort pouch is a special package in which the perishable food items are preserved by physical and chemical means. It can withstand thermal processing and combines advantages of metal cans and boiling bags. So this is briefly about Retort pouch. At a later part, the second part of this lecture, I am going to talk all the details about Retort pouch. Here little bit we will understand about the science behind this canning or retort processing. So sometime we call it commercial sterility. Application of sterilization for food preservation, sometimes called as commercial sterility. It is the application of heat to kill all the microorganisms. Otherwise they will grow and cause spoilage of food at ambient temperature. Here the destruction of microbial population done both for the vegetative cells and also the spores, because sometimes the spore can grow at a adverse condition and it destroys all the pathogen and other organisms, and it can also prevent the production of any toxins. So here inactivation of meat enzymes first occurs around 60 to 75 degrees Celsius because the autogenous enzymes can cause spoilage of food or meat. And secondly, bacterial spores must be destroyed, for which we should have a temperature above 115 degrees Celsius and preferably 121 degrees Celsius. So the efficacy of thermal process depends on physical properties of the product, thermal resistance of the target microorganisms, and the inherent characteristics of the food or meat like pH, water activity, the salt content and other compositions. So these factors play important role about the efficacy of heat or sensitivity of the microorganisms. Now briefly we'll talk about the retort pouches for thermal processing. So these are the pouches which are retortable. That's why they are called retort pouches. So they are the containers made of either laminates of synthetic materials alone or a combination of laminates of aluminum foil with synthetic materials, and these materials are having very popular acceptance in the industry for food processing and food preservation in thermal process or thermal processing. So this retortable pouch or retort pouch generally will have 4 layers, and they are joined together. That's why they are called laminates. So first is cast polypropylene, second is biaxially oriented nylon, third is aluminum foil, and fourth is polyester. So they can be 2 or 3 or 4 in different combination. The common dimensions are 10 centimeter by 15 centimeter. Here we can see a modern design or prototype of a retort processor. Nowadays these machines are produced and fabricated by different companies in India itself. This works with the principle of autoclave. So this is a highly upgraded, sophisticated autoclave with all kind of control from outside and display of different indicators like temperature, pressure, the product temperature, the steam pressure, all these details are displayed there. Here we can see the inside details of a retort processor. So generally they are called as hydrostatic processor. That is, there will be high hydrostatic pressure which causes the increase in temperature, and they can come in two varieties, that is agitating and non-agitating type. Agitating means the packets will move automatically slowly, it won't be stationary, whereas non-agitating means there will be no such movement, so all the packets or products remain stationary inside the chamber. Here we can see another picture, the inner view of the retort processor. how it will look when it is under processing. Then there will be completely filled with steam. Here briefly we will see the retort design and the process. In this diagram we can see the details about the inner uh, design and the different attachments and devices along with this, which I have shown in the model. And in the process there are three phases. There is the first phase, that is heating phase, that is it has to slowly heat and reach a temperature beyond 121 degrees Celsius. Then the second phase, once it reaches 121 degrees Celsius, we have to hold it for some time. And third phase is cooling phase, where slowly you have to reduce the temperature. So there is a proper processing schedule which we will have to develop by proper mathematical calculation. There are more details which we will talk in the next lecture. And this high pressure can be generated by injecting the steam alone inside, or both by heating the water at 100 degrees Celsius continuously, or also by both steam injecting and water heating. Here let us understand the principle of retort processing. So firstly, the principle is to destroy microorganisms by heating. So first the food is packed and sealed, then all the microorganisms are destroyed. So it is a thermal preservation of food. So this thermal processing of food within the package itself, it is happening, and it will first inactivate all the enzymes inside the food, because those enzymes cause damage to the food or spoilage to the food by autolysis, and to make the food commercially sterile. So this process, a heat process, killing all organisms and spores, making it sterile, and then it becomes suitable to be stored at room temperature without any deterioration. Side by side, this process also make the food optimally cooked before consumption. So it is ready for consumption. So generally the food is not fully cooked before this processing. Here briefly we will understand the concept of thermal process design. So this is the background principle for canning also, and in this case for retort pouch processing also. So there are two aspects. One is microbiological and quality aspect. Another is process design aspect. So for microbiological part, first we have to do a evaluation of intrinsic food properties and identification of target microorganism and inactivation parameters. And then we have to do a identification of primary quality factors sensitive to thermal process. So in the other side, in process design aspect, we need to do the recording heat penetration data at the cold point, that is the point where the heating is minimum, and then we need to calculate the integrated sterilizing F value. So F value is something which decides the effect of heat on the microorganism, and similarly we have to do the mass average of C value, that is another important parameter for sterilization. Now after doing this, we need to check whether the process, that is F, greater than the microbial lethal F. So every microorganism has a lethal F. The processing F factor which we calculate, it should be more and optimum. If it is not, then we have to redo and recalculate with different time and temperature. Next we have to see the C value, whether it is desirable. If it is yes, the process can be accepted, and if it is no, we have to revert and do again. Now we are going to talk more details only about the retort pouch. As I already mentioned, retort pouch is a flexible metal plastic laminate which is able to withstand thermal processing used for sterilization. It is mainly constructed of 2, 3 or 4 ply material, which when fully sealed will act as a hermetically sealed container that can be heat processed at similar temperature and pressure as for metal container. So normal canning, which is done with metal container, where it is sealed and heat processed. Similarly here also, first food will be filled and then sealed, and then there will be high hydrostatic pressure processing. The materials used in retort pouch must also provide superior barrier properties for long shelf life, seal integrity, toughness, and puncture resistance. So these are the practical quality required after processing to maintain the long shelf life of the pouch. Now we'll see a little bit more details about the layers in the laminate. So there are 4 layers, sometimes it can be 3 or 2. So we will explain all the 3 layers and their function. The first one is polyester, then nylon, then aluminum foil, and then polypropylene. So the polyester is used as a outer layer in a thickness of 12 microns. It gives required strength to the pouch. It withstands to high processing temperature, resistance to transportation and storage, and it has a glossy surface which is used for reverse printing. The another layer is aluminium foil. It is used in the thickness of 9 to 25 microns. This is the third layer. It is a barrier to oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor, and this extends the shelf life more than 1 year because this gives the actual barrier property. Now we will see the other layers, that is the food grade polypropylene or cast polypropylene. This is used as inner layer in the thickness of about 75 microns. This provides the critical seal integrity or sealability. That's the most important for giving the hermetic sealing. It has got the flexibility and strength, and it has taste and odor compatibility with food item. So sometime in place of polypropylene, polyethylene is also used, that is the as a sealing and bonding layer. And the second layer from inside is the nylon. It has limited gas barrier properties and it is used in combination with polypropylene, and mostly it is used for those products where the shelf life is around 3 to 6 months. Here is some details about the pouch configuration. We can have 2 ply, 3 ply or 4 ply. 2 ply means it will have 12 micrometer polyester layer and 70 micrometer polyolefin. If it is 3 ply, there will be 12 micrometer polyester, 12 micrometer aluminum foil and 70 micrometer polyolefin. If we have 4 ply, then we will have 12 micrometer polyester, 12 micrometer aluminum foil, 12 micrometer polyester and then 70 micrometer polyolefin. So these are the different common configurations used for laminates. Here we can see the original picture of a retort pouch. It has become a alternative to metal cans. It is ideal for inside ready to eat food products for in container processing. That is what we are telling retort pouch processing. There can be commonly 3 or 4 layers and together it is called as laminate, and it is most ideal for aseptic processing and then long-term storage of processed meat or meat products. Here is about the pouch of laminates. So commonly it is 3 ply pouch and a sandwich of thin gauge of aluminium between thermoplastic films. So there is a aluminium film between 2 thermoplastic films. They are sandwiched. The components of laminate are held together with adhesive, which are usually modified polyolefins such as ethylene vinyl acetate. So this is the major agent which holds together all these layers. Each layer performs a specific function that is critical to product shelf life, stability and container integrity. Sometimes nowadays there is an alternative of foil or aluminum foil to provide the visibility of the product, and that time they replace the aluminum foil with saran, that is the polyvinylidene chloride or PVDC, or with EVOH, that is ethyl vinyl alcohol or nylon. Here is some of the typical characteristics or desirable characteristics of retort pouch. Later we are going to see the exact properties of retort pouch. or physical properties. So firstly, they should be lightweight, self-stable, cost-saving alternative to metal cans. Their physical strength to resist physical abuse during the processing, so that's very important. They should have resistance to penetration by fats, oils and other food components. The straight tear technology to ensure clean and easy opening. Resistance to temperature to at least 121 degrees Celsius for sterilization. Inertness to penetration by food components and low migration of film. So these are some of the common characteristics the retort pouch should have. Here we will see the important properties of retort films, which is essential for thermal processing. First is low oxygen permeability. It should be 0 cc per meter square in 24 hours in normal atmospheric pressure. The sterilization temperature stability, it should be stable from 0 to 150 degrees Celsius because it will be processed above 121 degrees Celsius. It should have very low water vapor transmission rate, that is 0 per meter square in 24 hours. And heat sealability, it should have very nice sealability. So 160 to 260 degrees Celsius, it is very quick sealing. The thickness tolerance, it will be plus minus 2 micrometer. A seal strength, that is 2 to 3.5 kg per 10 millimeter. And bursting strength 7.5 kg per centimeter square. So these are some of the essential properties required for a retort film or retortable. Here we will see the physical properties of retort pouches commonly used for meat and meat products. The parameters are given here. The total thickness 114 micron, pouch length 200 millimeter, pouch width 150 millimeter, pouch weight 7.86 gram, seal width of the seal 10 mm at the side and 9 mm at the bottom. Tensile strength lengthwise 574 kg per centimeter square and widthwise 523 kg per centimeter square. Heat seal strength lengthwise 7.7 kgf per 15 millimeter and heat seal strength widthwise 7.3 kgf per 15 millimeter and peel bond strength 228 kgf per 15 millimeter. These are some of the details about the physicochemical properties of the pouch. Here quickly we will see the types of pouches. That can be preformed pouches or inline formed pouches. The preformed pouches are more common in case of retort pouch. So here the pouch is already made by sealing three sides. Only one side will be open and that will be sealed after filling. Whereas there is another option, that is inline formed pouches, which is commonly used for liquid filling like milk packaging or juice packaging. So here there will be a roll stock of the laminate and that comes through a tensioning device. Then it folds and there will be a sealing at the center line and exposing the polypropylene surface. And later it forms a pouch and where the liquid will be filled and then it will be sealed and cut off. So this kind of pouch is more commonly used in case of milk plant or dairy plant or in case of juice plant, but in case of solid product also it can be done, but here the processing has to be done after the sealing. So now we are going to learn little bit about the terminology of these pouches or containers, because to explain any kind of defects we should know the terminology of different part of the pouch. So there are terminologies like body, coding, cosmetic seal, laminate, manufacturer seal, processor seal, roll stock, seal, that is the sealing, then seal tensile strength, seal width, tear notch, all this. So very quickly I am going to explain all this terminology. So container terminology, briefly I will tell different terminology. First is the body, that is the area of the pouch located within the sealed area. That is the body of pouch will vary in dimensions. It can be different dimensions. Then next is coding, that is lettering or numbering that is permanently marked onto the flexible pouch. This coding applied by the processor indicating the processing plant or day, month and year of processing. Then there is cosmetic seal. This is a seal applied by the processor. This function is to provide an embossing surface or to prevent contamination of the area directly outside of the seal. Then laminate, this is a multi-layer retort pouch is called as laminate. In retort pouches, there are generally 4 layers that are held together with adhesive. In continuation, some more terminology. Manufacturer's seal, the seal applied by the pouch manufacturer. In pre-formed pouches, these generally occur on 3 sides of the pouch. The processor's seal, the primary seal applied by the processor. This is intended to complete the flexible pouch's hermetic properties. So this seal is applied after filling the food material or the meat or meat product. Roll stock. This is a stock of laminate in round roll which is used by the processor for production of the pouch. That is in case of inline formation of pouch. Then the seal. Seal means the sealing of the pouch, and we call it hermetic closing of the container that needs to be secure against entry of microorganisms. So this hermetic sealing means nothing can get entry like air, moisture or microorganism. The hermetic seal is achieved by the fusion of 2 heat sealable layers of the laminate material. That is, both sides at the inner surface there is polypropylene which is highly sensitive for heat sealing. Here are a few more container terminology. The seal tensile strength. This is the maximum force required to tear apart the pouch, and it is expressed in kg per millimeter. It is also called as bond strength of seal. Then there is a seal width, that is the distance between bonded area of the pouch seal. And then there is tear notch. So the small cutaway portion of the manufacturer's side, the small cutaway portion of the manufacturer's side of the seal that allows the container to be torn open with relatively ease. So there is a specific notch through which it can be easily opened. That is called tear notch. So first I have explained about the retort and principle of processing. Then I explained about the retort pouch and details about it and its properties and terminology. Now little bit about the defective processing. So even if we follow the FDA compliant retort and calibrate it to the required accuracy, still there can be defective processing due to following reasons. Number one is inadequate and erratic streamline pressure. Maybe because of boiler or pressure reducing station. There could be poor quality of pouches, improper placement of pouches, or poor quality of cooling water that can cause blockage due to sedimentation and affect the uniform injection of steam. In continuation of defective processing, so there should be periodic calibration of temperature sensor to conform to the reference thermometer is specified by FDA. The improper processing will be resulting in the event of it not being complied with. So if we regularly don't calibrate the temperature sensor, there could be defective processing. Variation in container size, type or configuration. That means the pouch size or type or configuration or load, amount of loading or maximum residual etc., residual air, all these things can affect the sterilization process and defective processing. And lastly, variation in quality of ingredients as well as contents of different ingredients for the same recipe can cause defective processing or sterilization. That is, the ingredients are used in a different variation or different ingredients in the same recipe at a different proportion also can cause defect. Now we will see the advantages of retort pouches in comparison to metal cans, or earlier we used glass cans. So firstly, less energy is required to manufacture the pouches compared to cans. Transport of empty container is cheaper, at least 85% less space required than cans or metal cans or glass cans. Packing is cheaper than equivalent canned, and with carton cost is about the same. Rapid heat penetration and faster process results in better nutrition and flavor of the food product or meat product. Packed pouch is compact and require about 10% less space. Fast reheating of contents by immersion of pack in hot water. Opens easily by tearing and cutting. Retort pouch materials are non-corrosive, convenient on outdoor leisure and military ration use. It is quite easy to handle, carry and convenient. So these are the advantages of retort pouches over the metal cans. Now we will see some disadvantages of retort pouches. Firstly, filling of crates and loading into crates is much slower and much complex than can or glass container. Establishing scheduled process and controlling critical factors is more complex. Pouches are more sensitive to cutting impacts as well as to softening effects during heating. And high capital investments, especially in equipment necessary for appropriate pouch handling during loading and unloading the retorts. So these are some of the disadvantages in case of retort pouches when we compare with metal cans or glass containers which are used in traditional canning process. Now we are at the end of today's lecture. Today we are discussing about the retort processing of meat and meat products, the part 1. In this part 1, my focus was about what is basics about retort processing, the retort processing machinery and basic principles and process, and most details we have discussed about the retort pouch because our topic is retort pouch processing. So in this lecture I have focused more on the retort pouch, what is the different aspect like the components, the layers, the different kind of pouches, the different kind of properties, what kind of defects can happen and what is the advantage and disadvantage. So I will be back with the part 2 of this retort pouch processing of meat and meat products. There we will discuss more detail about the processing of actual meat and meat products through this retort pouch processing, and different kind of meat and fish products also I am going to discuss. Thank you. Hope it is easy for understanding.